The headlines tonight: from better to best, a new chapter for the scheme that's driven up Ofsted ratings across Norfolk. A stellar idea, the 6,500 solar panels that a Norwich business will be using to help power its future. And after the break on Norfolk Replies, your views and your rants on this week's Talking Points.
Good evening and welcome to Mustard. You join me in the library at West Earlham Junior School. 2 years ago it had been rated as requiring improvement by Ofsted, but today it's a thriving good school, and that is partly being put down to the Better to Best programme. The improvement programme has been run by the County Council for the last 3 years, but now that 89% of schools here, like this one, are rated as good or outstanding, it's being turned into a not-for-profit business run by schools themselves. And today I've been finding out how that is going to work.
Exemplary pupil conduct, the words Ofsted used to describe children at West Earlham Junior School. They were given a good rating when they were inspected a year ago, a big step up from the previous grade of requires improvement. It's after being a member of Norfolk's education improvement programme Better to Best for 3 years. And at a meeting to find out about its future this morning, head teacher Catherine Parry-Jones says they couldn't have done it without it.
Well, the subject leadership wouldn't be as strong, or we'd have had to search other places for all the input we've had from them. One of the aspects that schools have liked is the choice. So schools pay a set amount of money but can choose and really tailor what they want, which is what's benefited our school. We've really wanted specific things and we've been able to have exactly what we wanted from the programme.
This morning, around 180 of the county's schools attended a meeting at South Green Park Enterprise Centre in Mattershall to hear about the programme's next chapter, becoming a not-for-profit company run by the schools themselves. It was started back in 2013 by Norfolk County Council after criticism, including from the then head of Ofsted, Sir Michael Wilshaw, who said there was a culture of complacency. Since it was launched, though, the number of good or outstanding schools has risen by 25%, and council funding is now about to come to an end. But head of the service, Denise Walker, says it's crucial the hard work and momentum doesn't stop.
Our statistics are still only just on and slightly below in some areas the national average. So we mustn't be complacent about the journey that we've gone on and feel that we just can stop and put our feet up. We need to grow the kind of energy that we've created and the enthusiasm of our teachers to take us on to a higher level. We truly believe there is no reason why the children in Norfolk can't have as brilliant an education as they can in other parts of the country.
The new company will be called Viscount Nelson Education Network, or VNet. It'll still offer inspection preparation, workshops and training after feedback from a survey of teachers and governors, but for a fee. It's thought it'll be the first of its kind in the country.
Here in Norfolk, we sometimes have to create our own solutions. It takes a bit of ingenuity to find something that's going to work locally, because it's sometimes difficult to do things. We have lots of small schools, we have some quite small secondary schools, and those environments need different solutions. You know, something that works in a big city won't always work in a small rural school.
Of course, Norfolk isn't without its challenges. Although above the national average, the county still sits at 59th out of 150 in GCSE league tables, and schools are reporting big problems recruiting and retaining teachers. But with the new company taking over the service from February, it's hoped the momentum for improvement will continue and spread further afield, building an education network for the future. Lauren Hewitt, Mustard TV, West Earlham.
Some other headlines now, and an inquest's heard how a man from Norwich was killed in a blunt force assault to his head and chest. Michael or Mick Cura, who was 59 and unemployed, was found dead at his home in Saffron Square in November. 2 men and a woman have since been arrested on suspicion of murder and bailed as Norfolk police continue to investigate. Today, Norfolk Coroner's Court heard Mr Cura had injuries consistent with an assault, and an inquest review is due to be held in May. The Health and Safety Executive has today confirmed it's making inquiries after a serious accident at the building site of a new Norwich school. It happened on Hall Road at the construction site where the Wherry School is being built, close to the Hewitt and Goals. The ambulance service was called to reports that a man had fallen through the roof of a building on Friday. He had a suspected back injury, which is not thought to be life-threatening. Plans to expand Norfolk's biggest hospital are moving closer after the trust that runs it was taken out of financial special measures. The Norfolk and Norwich University Hospital Foundation Trust had been forecasting a deficit of more than £30 million, and that prompted regulators NHS Improvement to step in last summer. It meant the hospital's expansion plans had to be put on hold, including the bid to build a bigger emergency department. But now it's back on the table, with the predicted deficit improved to £25 million and the trust out of special measures. Bosses have paid tribute to the hospital's staff, and they say it puts them on an excellent footing for the future. Now, the ever-popular Bell Hotel pub in Norwich is set to close for 16 weeks for a refurb. Almost £2.5 million is going to be spent expanding the Wetherspoons pub above the Santander Bank next door. It's going to get an extended garden and a new kitchen, bar and toilets. Parts of the Bell date back to the 15th century, but it became Norwich's first Wetherspoons in the 90s. It's set to temporarily close on Sunday, with staff working at the firm's other branches in the city. Right, time to get the latest rundown of your local sport. Here's Phil Arms and Jake Watson.
Thanks, Rob. Norwich City under-23s lost 2-0 at Swansea last night in the latest of their Premier League 2 matches. The Swans have enjoyed a great season so far, Jake. They're top of the Premier League 2, but the Canary youngsters, of course, it's the other side of the story, sitting right at the bottom of the table. But it was almost a game of two halves last night.
Yeah, absolutely. We say it was 2-0 to Swansea, but it could have been a whole lot more if it hadn't been for Ben Killip in the Norwich goal. This is a guy who's been in the setup for quite a while now, as a loan spell at Lowestoft, and if it wasn't for him, Norwich could have lost by significantly more than just the 2.
And of course, there's just almost like a preamble, really. The Premier League 2 is very, very important for the academies and that sort of thing. But the next match that's coming up just on the horizon down at Carrow Road is a massive international match against Dynamo Zagreb.
Yeah, these are always great occasions, particularly for the young guys. So this is the Premier League International Cup. This is the second season that they've been involved in this. It's Dynamo Zagreb who are coming to Carrow Road next week. So a great opportunity for people to go down, see an international side, but also nice and cheap, isn't it, Carrow Road?
Yeah, it's free entry, so all you've got to do is contact the ticket office down at Carrow Road and get your tickets all booked in. And it's a free game of football under 23s against Dynamo Zagreb on Monday evening. Now, I've got to talk about this one. Ipswich Town are in town on Sunday. Yeah. It's always a big local derby. There's always a lot of fervour around it, but it seems almost quiet. There's almost like a nervousness about it at the moment.
Yeah, I think Ipswich are particularly scared because they haven't won this fixture in quite a while, but then also Norwich aren't particularly getting too excited because their form hasn't been too much to shout about, particularly after the Burton defeat at the weekend. I think the big talking point remains that they're without Tom Lawrence, and who did Norwich start in defence?
Yeah, out of the 18 matches at Carrow Road this year, Norwich have only lost 3, so there's no real need to be nervous. And we've got, I think it came out this week, the 5th highest scoring team in Europe, so nothing to worry about. Anyway, in looking at non-league football, Kings Lynn earned another point in the Evo Sticks Southern Premier Division last night with a hard-fought goalless draw at Cambridge City. And Norwich United are looking to maintain their push for Ryman North playoff positions this evening. They host Averley, just 3 points and 2 places behind them in the Ryman North, so that's going to be a hard-fought match. And actually, Norwich United have done really, really well this season.
We are running out of time a little bit, but Norwich United have been particularly impressive. Their first ever year at step 4 and on the brink of perhaps a playoff push if they carry on going what they're doing.
And if we could move on to hockey, Harleston Magpies ladies continued their terrific run of form in the Women's East Conference hockey with a 3-1 win over Chelmsford, a victory that keeps them in 3rd in the table and just 4 points off the leaders at Wimbledon, while the men's side beat Dereham 2-0 in the East League Premier A with goals from Archie Winter and Ben Wright, and Norwich Dragons ladies kept themselves in contention in the East Women's League Premier Division honours with a fine 3-1 home win against Maidstone. That's the latest sport, all up to date, so back to you, Rob.
Thanks, guys. And finally tonight, the Norwich firm harnessing the sun to help power its plant. Briar Chemicals are in the process of filling 2 fields with more than 6,500 solar panels. By the end of March, they'll be generating enough energy to power the equivalent of 400 homes. Mark Summers has this report.
It's not too long ago that they felt like the new cutting-edge thing of the future, but increasingly solar panels are springing up across our county. And the newest addition is here at Briar Chemicals on the edge of Norwich, where 2 whole fields are being covered in the high-tech kit provided by Wren Energy. It's hoped it'll open at the end of March, providing cheap, low-carbon energy to the site using a technology that businesses are finding increasingly attractive.
We've always looked at the ways we could to run our site as efficiently as possible and is with the minimum amount of impact on the environment. That's something we've worked on for the last 20 years, I would say. But yes, this makes good business sense for us. It's we get money from the rent of the land and we get cheap electricity source.
There's loads of businesses out there with land, with roof space that they're not utilising, that now we can either install for free and then sell them the power, or they can invest themselves and get great returns over the long term. But it's kind of a nice way looking to the future that people can hedge their energy costs, know that prices aren't going to go up, which is going to enable them to be competitive, especially as we move to a post-Brexit market.
Once the work's finished, these fields will be home to more than 6,500 panels. Together, they'll generate enough energy to power 400 houses, offsetting 860 tonnes of CO2 every year, with any unused energy sold on the national grid. The panels are held in place by 800 steel piles, all produced by the Wyndham-based company Highspan, and designed to stand the test of time, as Briar takes on international competition.
It's a 25-year deal. We really looking at the things that help to make us sustainable for the long term in what's a tough environment, because there's competition with China, there's competition with Europe in our business, and we need to do everything we can to make ourselves competitive for the long term.
Briar are just the latest Norfolk business to capitalise on the interest in solar. In August last year, 770 panels were installed on the roof of Into Chapelfield, while Scotto Enterprise Park, what was RAF Coltishall, is home to one of the largest solar farms in Britain. Back at Briar, though, there's just the small task of putting in all the panels and finishing laying 21 miles of cable underground before this stellar project can help power the plant. Mark Summers, Mustard TV, Norwich.
And with that, let's get the latest weather. Here's WeatherQuest.
Tonight, it will remain rather cloudy across the county as patchy rain clears eastwards in the evening, to leave a mostly dry night with a few clear intervals at times. North Norfolk will turn cloudier in the early hours, with perhaps some rain by dawn. There will be a moderate to fresh southwesterly wind tonight, and temperatures will be mild, with lows no lower than 9 Celsius. Tomorrow, Wednesday, it will be rather cloudy through the morning, with outbreaks of rain for a time, but it will turn drier and brighter from the north in the afternoon. With a light to moderate westerly wind, maximum temperatures will be around 10 to 12 Celsius tomorrow. Looking ahead, it will be cloudy with some rain and strong winds during Thursday, and cooler temperatures moving in from the north overnight. It will be a colder feeling day on Friday with the risk of a few scattered showers, but it will turn milder over the weekend and into the early part of next week, with spells of heavy rain and a few showers around.
Right, it's time for a quick break now, but don't go anywhere, because coming up, it's Norfolk Replies. It's our look at what you've been saying about some of the county's biggest stories this week. That's coming up next, so do stay with us.